Hello, this video is going to be on non-material culture. Non-material culture refers to the values, the beliefs, and the customs that are shared by a group. So these are things you can't touch. You can touch material culture. You can touch this mouse. That's material culture. You cannot touch non-material culture. It's a way of thinking, a way you believe that you don't always think about or are not aware of. For instance, in a sociology book one time, they described the following, and I want you to tell me whether or not you would eat the bread. What was described by the sociologist was the following. He was in Morocco. It's a country in North Africa. He was up early one morning walking down the street. The street was a dirt street, okay? It had rained the night before, so there were mud puddles, and he was avoiding the mud puddles. There also was livestock. It was a poor village roaming around. Most of the livestock, I think there were sheep and maybe some camels. And so therefore they had, taken a dump on the street. So he's avoiding the mud and he's avoiding the feces. And then he notices the following. This is where the bread comes in, and I want to know if you would eat it. A woman comes out of her house or apartment, second-story balcony, says something to a man pushing a cart selling the bread, and she wants to buy some bread. They apparently agree on a price, so the woman tosses down some coins to the man selling the bread. The coins fall on the street. They don't fall in the mud or the feces. Now the man, with a bare hand, no gloves, no plastic gloves, reaches down, picks up the coins, and picks the coins in his pocket. Okay, and he grabs a loaf of bread. This is like a baguette, big long loaves. Would you still eat the bread, given the fact that the man reached down onto the ground, picked up the coins, and put them in his pocket? Think about it. Now, it gets even better. He takes the loaf of bread or the baguette. He actually tosses the baguette up to the woman. The woman misses the baguette. She can't catch the bread loaf. It falls down back onto the ground, onto the street. It does not fall in the mud or the feces. The guy picks up the loaf, the man selling it, and he wipes it off on his shirt. And he tosses it again. This time it hits the railing of the house, of the balcony, I should say, and bounces off the railing, falls on the street again. He picks it up again, wipes a little bit of the dirt off on his shirt. Would you eat it? I bet most of you wouldn't. Some of you might. We're not talking about starving. If we're starving, we'll eat anything, okay? But would you really eat that? I wouldn't. I'll be honest with you. I would eat that bread. Gotta tell you what I'm thinking. It landed on the ground. You know what? People walk. Cars go by. That little mud and feces gets tracked all over the place, and what looks like brown mud might be brown doo-doo, right? That's what I'm thinking. I wouldn't eat it. Anyway, he tosses it a third time. This time the woman catches the bread. Guess what she does? She thanks him for making the effort to toss the bread 2 or 3 times. She walks in, and as far as we know, she eats the bread. Now, this is an example of what we call non-material culture, because I'm going to assume that in Moroccan society, the term dirty, which you may not think about clean and dirty, that's a value. Each society has its value. For them, the term dirty might mean as long as the bread didn't hit the feces or the mud, we consider it clean. I think in our society, and probably some other Western societies, we would say if that bread landed on the ground, and maybe even the fact that he picked up the money with his bare hands, that would be enough for us to qualify it as dirty. So the term dirty, the concept dirty, actually is a value. Every society has a different way of looking at what it means to be dirty or what it means to be clean. It doesn't mean that Moroccans are dirtier than Americans. It just means that Moroccans define dirty in a different way, not the same way that we would define the term dirty. Now, also while he was in Morocco, he noticed this. He's standing in line one day in order to catch a train. He's standing in line, and then this other train pulls into the station. People get off the other train, and then all of a sudden, a lot of the people who got off the train, instead of getting in line, they run up with their money to the front of the line with their hands, and they're trying to get tickets to the same train that he's standing in line for. And he started to get upset. And he noticed that other people in the line that he was standing in started to get upset because what did they do? They violated a custom in American and in many European societies, and that custom is you stand in line. Now, that's a value. We have a value here that says stand in line. When you go to get something to eat, you see people standing there, you get in line. You get upset if you're in line, somebody cuts in front of you. I do, in terms of that. So what he thought, he says, my gosh, what are they doing? And then he noticed the people running up with the money to get the tickets. They looked to him Moroccan, and the people standing in line looked to him to be American or European. And then he started to think, and he started to look around as he was in Morocco, and he noticed that Moroccans didn't stand in line. He knows that when he was in shops and he was going to buy something or in a bazaar or a market, that Moroccans, if they wanted something, they would just kind of go up there and say, hey, here's my money, I want to buy this, even though the salesperson might be talking to somebody else. Like in this country, salesperson's talking to somebody, what do? You know what you do? You basically wait. But in Morocco, apparently, it's like if I really want to buy it, I just go ahead and I buy it. I don't actually go out and wait. So therefore, we see Moroccans not only having a different concept of what dirty and clean means, but they have a different concept of the whole value of should I stand in line. And so if we think about what we call non-material culture, we find that it's there and it affects us in ways we don't know. Later on in this unit, we're going to talk about some American values. We're going to talk about this value called success, and we're going to talk about this value called individualism, which are very important in this society in terms of shaping our behavior.